Kia ora.
Mr Speaker.
Scott Simpson.
Mr Speaker, it's an absolute pleasure to speak in this budget policy statement debate this evening, and I think I'm going to be the last speaker. And it's always interesting, sir, to follow a Green MP because they often talk about the planet and their place on it. We're just often not sure which planet it is. And I know that in my own electorate of the Coromandel, where we have had a very good summer, in fact the farmers on the Hauraki Plains would be saying about now that summer's just about ready to be over because we are ready for some rain. Hopefully we'll get some this weekend. But we've had a very good summer in the Coromandel, and the good people of Coromandel are looking forward to the next Bill English budget, which will be read in May of this year, because they know that this will be a budget that will continue the careful, prudent fiscal management of Bill English and this John Key-led government. And they know that when we go to the polls on the 20th of September, that the general election policy of the National Party and this government will remain absolutely firmly focused on the issues that matter to all New Zealanders, and they matter to our communities and to all Kiwis. And those are a stronger economy, more jobs, better frontline health and education services, a safer New Zealand, and of course the continued rebuild of Christchurch. My colleague Jamie Lee Ross spoke only a few minutes ago about where we were when we came to the government benches in 2008 and what a dreadful, chaotic mess the country was in at that point. And we talked about, or Jamie Lee Ross talked about, the situation that confronted the government as we were already in recession, ahead of the global financial crisis, ahead of the worst economic situation to face our nation and the world since the 1930s. And so ours was a government that actually took a prudent, careful, managed approach to that crisis. And indeed we did borrow, and we borrowed to maintain the social services and the support for all New Zealanders that was required at a time of crisis. A time of crisis when many other countries were slashing, freezing and cutting costs and cutting services to their public and their state services. So I'm very proud that in fact the government that I'm a member of didn't do that, and we did a very good job. What I want to focus on tonight, Mr Speaker, is health. I have the pleasure of sitting on the Health Select Committee, and I want to talk a little bit about the progress that this government has made in the health sector since it came to power in 2008. So over the last 5 years, sir, the government has been working assiduously to improve the patient journey through our hospital system. We've increased elective surgery, we've reduced waiting times, and we've found new ways to maximise our healthcare services. And Tony Ryle has done an absolutely outstanding job as Minister of Health. He has been described by others, and I would be one that would do so also, as the country's finest health minister in the entire history of our parliamentary system, and I think he deserves that accolade. I think he's earned it, and I think that anyone that has had the need to go through our health system would probably endorse that. There have been some very significant improvements made within the health and disability service sector, and we've been focused on delivering better, sooner and more convenient health care to New Zealanders. This is a government, sir, that continues to invest in elective surgery and has done so even during those darkest days of the global financial crisis. Back in 2010, sir, $51.5 million was invested over 4 years to fund more electives. And then that, sir, was followed in 2011 by a further $68 million. And then in 2012 and also in 2013, $48 million in each of those subsequent years as well. So this strong investment has led to a decrease in waiting times and an increase in surgery volumes, in the number of surgical procedures being done. So waiting times are internationally regarded as a measure of quality and performance. And so to have reduced waiting times, Mr Speaker, during that period of time when other countries were cutting and slashing their health spend, I think is an indication of the careful, prudent, responsible management of Tony Ryall and this John Key-led government. Since 2008, since we came to power, Mr Speaker, the average number of days patients spent in hospitals has fallen consistently. And this is important because the longer a patient spends in hospital can reduce their well-being completely, and of course it increases the cost of care using more of our already stretched and valuable health dollars. But it's not just about patients in hospitals and those in need of surgery that the health focus has been. A person's first contact with our health system is more often than not with their GP. And the government has been working to strengthen and support primary care to provide the best possible care for all New Zealanders at every stage. DHBs are now working more closely with primary care providers to achieve clinical integration and care closer to patients' home, or preferably in their own home. Integrated family health centres, Mr Speaker, provide a more diverse range of health professionals and enable a more coordinated approach to patient care in primary care settings. And this is to be applauded and lauded. And I want to again congratulate the Honourable Tony Ryall for making sure that in the tough times we've had, that the focus has been on maintaining that spend, and yes, we have borrowed to make sure that that occurs. So, just an example of how that's occurred, Mr Speaker, is in agencies such as the Health Quality Safety Commission. Now, some people may not know much about the Health Quality Safety Commission, but it's a special commission that's work is entirely focused on the reduction of falls and the harm from falls that occur in New Zealand homes and places of work and in our community. So, since 2010, the Health Quality Safety Commission has been building a culture of constant examination and improvement in the health and disability sector, and this is a small but very important step and provides further indication of the focus that the government has been placing on this important sector. But let's not forget just how bad things were after the 9 long years of a high spending, high borrowing, high-handed Labour Green government. Remember back in 2002 when Annette King said in the Evening Post, quote, "New Zealand is not rich enough to have the kind of health system found in Australia, Canada, Britain or the USA." Now that was an incredibly pessimistic indictment of our health service and the future of our health services from the then Labour Health Minister. And it surprises me, Mr Speaker, that a person who entered this House campaigning against Robert Muldoon is now being pushed forward as Labour's great new young hope in health. Our health system was chaos under Annette King's stewardship after 9 long years in the Labour Party, and we don't want to return to that chaos again. Waiting lists were absolutely out of control, and Labour, sir, was spending like drunken sailors, but the results were all headed south. So the spending was going up and the results were going down. And we all remember those stories in the newspapers and on our television screens of patients who were lying on trolleys in hospital corridors under bright fluorescent lights for sometimes days on end, awaiting basic surgery and treatment. We also remember, Mr Speaker, the cancer patients who were shipped offshore, flown across the Tasman to Australia for basic cancer treatment. And it's taken nearly 6 years for Tony Ryall and the John Key-led government to put it all right and to sort it out. While many developed countries were freezing and reducing their health spending, we were increasing ours. So we've got less waiting, more operations, more doctors and nurses, and we've moved health spending from the back office to the front line. Mr Speaker, when we go to the polls on September 20, New Zealanders will have a stark decision to make. They'll say, am I prepared to put it all at risk, or will I stay with the careful, prudent, managed approach of John Key and Bill English? And I know which way they're going to vote, Mr Speaker. It's been a pleasure to participate in this debate.
The debate has now concluded, so the question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
14 opposed.
New Zealand First.
7 opposed.
Maori Party.
2 in favour.
Mana.
1 opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
1 in favour.
United
1
Future.
in favour.
Brendan Horan.
1 opposed.
Any other votes?
The ayes are 63, the noes are 57. The ayes have it. Call on local orders of the day numbers 1 and 2 and members' order of the day number 1.
Tasman District Council.